I'm eager and excited and even feeling blessed to offer a perspective on summer solstice for you today. I believe that it's so beneficial to sync up with the natural cosmic rhythms that precede us every day, not for the sake of gaining, wisdom about what's happening outside of us and the planets and the sky and the sun and the moon, because what is happening outside of us is a direct reflection of what's happening within. And when we look without and we understand the meaning of what's happening and why, then we can bring that knowledge directly inside, and we can go on this inner journey of understanding, okay, here's how things are playing out for me right now. These celestial movements are helping us understand our own constant process of coming into inner balance. So when we get to a peak seasonal point in the year, it's very important because it's giving us an opportunity to reflect on how balanced we are in and of ourselves. So often I talk about this centered place, right? Living from this high heart place, from the place of neutrality, the collapsing of time and space, to that neutral one point. And from there, we really access a different kind of quantum layer of reality where we can transcend just the structures of the 3D system that we incarnate into, and we can begin to feel and commune with ourselves on a higher level, on a more expanded frequency, I should say. And that's the gateway to bridging that frequency into our life and to living from that place. It's not that we ever leave this 3D body in this beautiful 3D world, but we begin to become a bridge within ourselves and to become multidimensional, really living in a 3D with an expansive perspective that allows us to um, live on a quantum level, live on a multidimensional level, honoring all of these frequencies that are currently available to us. So let me get back to summer solstice, right? We're always feeling into this centered place inside of us, and the angles on the zodiac help us really find within ourselves the places where we land on the seasonal zodiac wheel, the places where we land on our own seasonal wheel that resides inside, that helps us come to that centered place. So we have yang and yin, we have masculine and feminine, we have electrical and magnetic, we have light and dark, right? So that's that pillar, or that electric or vertical axis. And then we have the balancing, right? We have the left and right, the negative and positive on either side. So we live in these vessels with two eyes, right? So we're always using this as our balance point, and our body is kind of always adapting to the world that we move through and using this access point to keep us on center. So when we come to the equinoxes that happen on either side of the year, spring and fall, it's helping us feel into, okay, how centered am I on this kind of equilateral plane, right? Am I finding that center point right in the middle? And when we come to solstice points, summer solstice and winter solstice, we're feeling into that electric plane. How balanced am I in my masculine and feminine, in light and dark? Okay. And the important part to understand also about solstice is that from winter solstice all the way up to summer solstice, we're on this more masculine journey of climbing. The light is getting greater and brighter, right? And so we're planting seeds, we're getting to work, we're plowing fields, we're, like generating. and growing. By the time we get to solstice, we've put in, so to speak, all of the external energy that we have for that year. And then right away, we move into a yin energy. And for the next 6 months, we're coming down. We're not planting seeds anymore. However, we are tending to that which we've already built this year. And we are finding the peace and the inwardness to know, to move into our knowing, and to attend more to the inner wisdom of when to harvest, or what your crop that you've grown, what it needs. It might need extra sun, extra water, some extra fertilizer, some weed trimming, right? We're using our inner wisdom to tend to what we've already planted that year, so that it can give us the biggest harvest in the fall. And then, of course, in the fall, we look at how much we have, how equal are we, right? Do we have too much? Do we have not enough? And how can we use that knowledge and knowing that we're coming into a wintering season to decide what to bring with us and what to give away, or what to throw out, or what to preserve and transmute. So we're always on this cyclical journey throughout the year. And when we get to these peak points, the equinox and the solstice, we are coming to a still point that when you use it as a reflection and you bring that wisdom inward, understanding, okay, how is the cycle of Earth changing? How is my own cycle changing? Because I am one with the cycle of Earth. Here's what we do at summer solstice. We look back at what we've grown and what we've built, and the power and the light and the intention that we've put into this year. And we also have the kind of grace to shift into a new mode of being. So this really helps balance out that masculine, feminine as well, because a lot of the push up to summer solstice is a more masculine push. But in order to balance it out, we need to come into the feminine receivership and kind of creativity and wisdom and rest that's required to preserve that energy, to get us all the way down into the next cycle. So to help understand this, I want to use the biblical story of Samson and Delilah. And if you'd like to really tune deeply into this, into the story, you can pause and you can listen to the song Samson by Regina Spektor, maybe a few times over, and then come back and watch the video or watch it afterwards. But the difference between the biblical story of Samson and Delilah and the esoteric story, or how I'm going to reinterpret it for you, this is such a summer solstice story. Okay, so we have Samson, who is this archetype that represents like strength and power, right? So he has his long hair, he's extremely strong, and he's considered the strongest in the land, or undefeatable, or whatever it is. So Samson, then he then is kind of seduced by Delilah, who in the biblical story represents the kind of seductive force of being a human and succumbing to the seduction of the dark forces. And his hair gets cut, right? And he's kind of manipulated. His hair is cut and his hair holds his strength. And then he isn't able to accomplish his goals, right? Because he loses his strength. But as we know with the Bible, a lot of these stories have been shifted and changed in order to put us into a false cycle, really, right? And we are in this patriarchal society that really teaches us to value the push and the power and the light and the masculine and that constant climb, right? We're not taught to stop climbing. We are taught to be ambitious and to be all that we can be and just keep shining our whole life. A lot of people go through, dark night of the soul, or complete ego collapse, or career collapse, and really depressing, difficult times in their life because they run out of steam on that climb, right? But the thing is they've been climbing for so many cycles without the gracefulness of that feminine, surrendered, restful energy coming in to allow them space and time to rejuvenate and to shift into a creative, receptive mode. So the stories that were told, and Samson and Delilah in the Bible is a story of, is an example of this, how history has been changed and shifted to fit a narrative that keeps humans pushing and using our life force in ways that don't serve us, in ways that constantly leak and push into ambition. And we do get things back in return, like money, or I don't know, like a nice car or whatever it is, right? And that seems to be what fulfills us. It's basically like capitalism and consumer society and just working every day without stopping, and getting a little bit in exchange, right? But that leaks our solar life force energy. It's not a sustainable cycle. So when we bring in the esoteric or a deeper reading of this story, and we don't bastardize the feminine, when we look at what that destructive force is actually doing, it changes everything. Okay. So here we have, and please go listen to the song. It will completely change your narrative of this story. It's just a really beautiful song. I want you to feel it. Um, when we go back to that story and we look at it from a different perspective, and we embrace this cycle that we're moving into after solstice, which is the the dark feminine or the destructive force, then we understand that this story is actually telling us what the natural cycle of growth and decline is, that then can actually lead to more growth. So Samson falls in love with Delilah, and he's all powerful, he's a spiritual seer. He's represented as the enlightened one and the powerful one of all of the land, right? And people value him for that. And his long hair is a testament to his, spiritual and powerful light-based abilities, right? He falls in love with Delilah, and Delilah cuts his hair. The cutting of the hair represents the feminine coming in to point out no one can push, no one can be that powerful, no one can sustain that without bringing in the opposite to balance it in. So in comes the feminine in her wisdom, cutting the hair, saying, you need a break from all of this outward activity, right? You need a reason. Let me be that one I will sacrifice myself, right? And be that one to cut your hair so that you can move into the yin and the surrender, right? So on that note, like we get this, if you really feel into this, you get this like feeling of, we all know the feeling. And this is what happens at summer solstice. You get exhausted, right? You think about how long you've been just crushing it out, working hard. It's been 30, 40, 50 years of working and providing and just climbing that ladder and go, go, go. And we're tired. That's the sun as well, right? It's at its peak, at its maximum peak. And at this point, it's tired. It's time to go into decline or rest. And it's the exact same for us. So when you start feeling this feeling of exhaustion, it's not that your actual life force is running out. It's that you're to use that as a trigger to shift into this new way of being, so that you can then rise up again the next year. In the story of Samson, when power and masculine drive and knowing is valued the way it is in our society, and of course, a lot of parts of the Bible were created and changed in order to create a narrative that serves the powers that be, right, that want us to value those things. There's no end to his strength. There's no end to his power. There's no end to his knowing. And a man like that or a person who's living like that is exhausted, and they often need a someone to come in and say, you deserve rest. You need to come down, come into my arms, come in and be still and be quiet. I'm not going to expect any power from you. I'm not going to expect any ambition out of you, but I would love to see you rest. So the Delilah in this story represents the moon, right? So from summer solstice onward, we shift into a more yin, more moon, more absorbent, more nurturing energy. And of course, the big shift is into Cancer season. Cancer is ruled by the moon. And it seems a bit ironic that at this peak first day of summer, we're all being asked to shift into Cancer energy, which is very much inward, it's home based, it's nurturing, it's restful, it's receiving, right? But that's exactly the balance of the full masculine expression on the climb, whether you're male or female, and then this permission slip is what it is, right? And some of you might go kicking and screaming and just push through the exhaustion and keep going and keep making plans all summer, and then by the time you get to harvest season in the fall, you don't have energy to go out and harvest your crops, or maybe you've crashed out and you harvest them too late and now they're over ripe and they've gone rotten, or maybe whatever it is, right? Like we can all imagine what happens in the fall when we've burnt out and when we're exhausting ourselves and when we're not allowing ourselves to flow with these natural cycles. But a lot of the world that we live in doesn't allow us to flow with these natural cycles. It says keep pushing and keep producing. But who is coming and whispering to you and saying you get to rest now? Like, shh, it's safe to rest. That's the moon. Come into my arms, rest, be still. I'm a very Cancer person. I have my moon, Venus, and Mercury all in Cancer, and I have my sun in the fourth house and Mercury in my fourth house, which is ruled by the moon also. So I love to get on here and be that permission slip for you. I love to come on and say, this is exciting for me because I know the value of rest. I know the value of that inward experience. I know the wisdom that comes from within when we spend time there and we tend to the inner garden. We're able to express and create so much outside of us because we're constantly going within and tending to all of the knowledge and wisdom that's available there, when we're not on that outward pursuit of chasing and grinding and growing. There is a time and place for that. And I do my best when it's that season to plant my seeds and to plan and to push and to grow. But boy, do I ever, as a Cancerian person, love to get to this place of shift. Now I can enjoy the light without the pressure to produce. And that's what this is really about. This, coming to the peak of summer solstice is you've used the light and the wisdom up until this point to produce and to push. Don't push anymore now, because the light, the cycles, the sun, the moon, everything is saying now it's time to enjoy the light as it wanes, right? All the way down to winter solstice as it wanes, without pushing. So you get to have rest. You get to have this beautiful harmony between the light that exists, the work you've already done, and the restfulness that comes from a job well done. So now it's about going out and looking at your garden and determining how much water does it need? How is it getting enough sun? It's more easeful work. So, back in the Gemini new moon video, I said, plant a few seeds right now. Scatter a few, say your mantras, scatter a few seeds, but don't take action on them. Just plant them. It's like late season planting, kind of like scattering wildflower seeds in the ditch, right? And see what pops up. It's just exciting. It's late season. It's why not plant a few things for fall when we're still in the growing season. Now I would say you don't necessarily have to plant anything new for the rest of the year, right? you probably already have your goals for next year that you have been coming into this winter and fall and summer. You probably already have some planning for what you're going to do. Let that be. Don't bring in anything big and new. You might have dreams, have a dream of something that already exists that you want to start working on. That works because you've planted those seeds. Those are seeds that have been planted already. But when it comes to big new things and big developments and pushing, this isn't the time for these new ideas, right? Ideas, light, information, data coming in, that's very solar. The phase that we're in now is very internal. Everything that's been planted has already been planted. And how do I let them cultivate on the inside? How do I let these things be nurtured? How do I nurture these things with my wisdom through a sense of ease instead of by pushing and making more plans? Okay, I feel like I've said enough there. To wrap up, I'm just again going back to the story of Samson and Delilah and how, learning about the codes and feeling into the higher or like the more expansive meaning behind these stories and these kind of benign um, stories that we've heard. It's it's always pointing us to a larger truth. It's always asking us to feel into the deeper meaning behind that which we're experiencing outside of us. Why would this earth, why would the powers that be on this earth, why would the structures at be want us to focus on the masculine, to be upright, to be pillars, to push, to be ambitious, right? And why would a story like that bastardize this feminine force that comes in her wisdom to cut his hair and say, it's time to rest now, right? And the song is really beautiful because it describes his love for her. It says, I loved you first. You're my greatest love. You're my greatest downfall. But it doesn't feel like that's a tragedy. It feels like that's him actually attuning to the divine wisdom of that feminine force and saying, like, I need this. The world is telling me to be one way. And yes, that is my strength. And there's a time and a place, but it's not sustainable if we are just that all of the time. So surrendering and loving and really trusting this force that feels like your own destruction at times is actually your greatest love and your biggest permission slip to be at peace and to rest. And what other way to know that you're held, you're supported, you're loved by this harmonious planet and system, and that and to recover and regain your life force energy than to actually flow with the seasons the way they're asking us to flow with them. And that's my goal here, is to use nature, use the natural cycles of this planet that we're living on that is always pointing us towards how to become more harmonious within ourselves so that we can just flow with nature, right? Where it's not an end in itself to get on that cycle. It is a bridge that allows us to be so harmonious within the cycle of nature, within ourselves, within the trust of the divine trust that we're here for something greater than just to be locked in this like crazy disharmonious matrix. You get to that place and then you start to bridge into the possibility that comes from that. And then what we see happening if you give a full surrender and full rest and full just like vibing with the seasons, what we see is that as you come deeper into past harvest season, where at equinox we'll talk about what did you reap from what you've sowed in the spring. How does your harvest look? How, and why? What did you do this year? What did you do right? What did you do wrong? And use that wisdom to shift how you're going to do things next year. Make the changes. Fall is always a time of things dying out, going away, relationships leaving, houses leaving, resources leaving, whatever it is, because they're not serving your best pattern for the next year. Right? So once we get past fall, then we go into this deep place of bringing in, we're going into deep winter, and we're bringing in all of that fertilizer, all of that wisdom, all of that connection with source, because life has gotten really quiet, to start manifesting this new dream for this next year. And so I hope this helps you see the full cycle of the year. And then remembering that we're at peak summer solstice last year, and you might want to go back and listen to my summer solstice video. It's a really good one that explains summer solstice in a different way. Climbing the mountaintop, right? You've prepared all year to go on this massive hike. You've hiked this mountain. You don't just get to the top and point out another mountain and beeline it down and start hiking that one. You sit at this peak and you take in the sun and you take in the beauty of this view, and you rest. And you take a moment, you take a pause. Literally, solstice is the sun, soul standing still. So we're at maximum illumination. So use that time at maximum illumination, maximum light, maximum data, maximum bloom and blossoming of what you've built and how you've climbed. Use that time to look and see, right? And understand and take stock, and also appreciate and give yourself kudos and pat yourself on the back and say, frig, I did it. I did a whole other year of climbing, even though I'm tired and I'm exhausted and I'm not quite flowing yet, but I'm trying my hardest and I'm moving into alignment, even though I still made it here. And here's what I have to show for it. And now I get to rest and gracefully usher myself into that very pleasant walk down the mountain, right? Enjoying the fruits of my labor, which is just that feeling of accomplishment. So let yourself feel accomplished. Remind yourself how powerful and incredible you are. Remind yourself of how hard you worked and how much you pushed. And now give yourself that permission slip as well to cut your hair, right? To release just the all of the things that tie you to production. Doesn't mean we're not still getting up and working and doing our things. It's just we're doing it with a sense of ease now. We're not putting added pressure on ourselves. So happy summer solstice. Please listen to the song. It's beautiful. And just take some time today to be grateful to be on this planet where we get to witness the beauty of full bloom, where the sun comes every year and offers us its peak up until this point. Is so exciting in the spring or in the dead of winter, knowing the days are getting longer. Take a moment to say thank you to the sun, a benevolent, sentient being. And also acknowledge the moon is coming in, this beautiful feminine force, and it's going to be your master for the next 6 months. And really let that force work on you. Let it destroy and break down the ego structures that allowed you to do the climb, and do that with grace, right? Samson letting her cut his hair because he loves and trusts her wisdom, that it's what's best for him, even though all of society is saying she's, destroying you. She's the worst. Actually, she's in her wisdom and her lack of fear of destroying that which has been built. She's actually ushering him into harmonious cycle. Okay, with that, I think I'll go back outside and enjoy the rest of the day. So sending love to all of you, and thank you so much for watching.